This episode of Stay Risky was recorded and brought to you by Engine Room Recording Company.
I came around here looking for a way and found myself outside with everybody else.
Hey, on this episode of Stay Risky, we have Astraea Rose with us. Astraea is my personal hairstylist and a good friend of mine. So thank you for coming out today. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and talk about what you do?
I'm Astraea. I work at Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Salon in Carmel, just right downtown in the Arts District. I've been doing hair for about 8 years now, at that salon for about 5. And I specialize in naturally curly hair. I still do everything, but that's really where I narrow in on and help people feel more comfortable in their own skin.
Nice.
Personally, I just want to start off by saying thank you for making Bram look the way that he does. Yeah,
approachable, yeah.
It was rough early on, but now it's.
I was gonna recommend Ben to come get his hair done with you, but he doesn't have. any hair, so.
I work with wigs too.
Hey, maybe a new look for you.
That's the second person that said something about me wearing a wig within the last week. I don't know what's happening.
It might be your calling.
I have 3 boys, and they have curly hair, and they go to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Mm-hmm.
The one in Fishers, though.
Yep.
But yeah, they you guys do a really, really good job.
Thank you.
They have somebody there that specializes in curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
and
great.
You are our second Kiss Kiss Bang Bang veteran that's been on the show. The first one was Tori.
Yes.
So, but yeah, Tori's a great guy, and he said that he had nothing but good things to say about the salon. Me as a customer coming in, because when I was younger, I would go to salons to get my hair done with my mom because I had longer hair at the time, and then when I did sports and I went to college, I just kept short hair, so I would just go to Great Clips or Sport Clips or wherever. But then going into back to a salon. I hadn't been in a long time. And when I walked into Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, it's a really well-run business, very nice. They're like, hey, do you want water? Do you want coffee? There's snacks. They're very timely. They call me 5 times before my hair appointment to make sure I'm coming in.
We do not let you forget.
Yeah. But I appreciate that because you guys are a high functioning. You're also on the Carmel Strip. So, I mean, people are coming in and out all the time. I've never seen you guys not busy, during the day. So, but tell us, dive a little bit more in that experience of, was that your first salon?
No, I was at another salon down in Beach Grove, just right outside of Southport, because it was down the street from my beauty school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I started there. I had 2 people that I knew from the drag community that worked there, and one of my educators worked there. So I was just like, oh, I know people who work here. Let me do this. And they promised me the world and gave nothing.
Well, that tends to happen, unfortunately.
So it was kind of like a mutual decision of me to leave, and they kind of wanted me to leave because I was just not happy there, and I wasn't not hiding it. And and then that's when I started looking for other salons.
Gotcha.
Okay. When you were at that first salon, though, you had mentioned you were in school, the beauty school. Was it like a networking thing where there's kind of I know some educational opportunities will then do job placement.
Mm-hmm.
Was that kind of the experience there?
Not for this particular salon. A lot of the job placement for the beauty school I went to, they actually really pushed for Great Clips, unfortunately.
Really?
They had a big partnership with somebody who runs a lot of the chains.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's a feeder program kind of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. But they did offer great benefits.
Yeah.
And, it was one of the few places where it's you got paid vacation, you got benefits, you got health insurance, which is not common in this industry.
Oh, that's not common.
No.
Interesting.
Well, it makes sense because Great Clips is a corporation.
Right.
So it's a bigger, but if you have Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, how many locations are there?
It's just the 2.
Just the 2. Yeah, so small business.
But is
big.
it then, are you guys, if you're allowed to answer this, is it a 1099 then in your situation?
I'm a commission employee.
So that'd be 1099.
No. I'm a W-2.
You are W-2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's how the dealership was. Yeah, it's you get whatever, you're a full-on employee, you have certain benefits. And then...
So there's a small base and then the rest is commission, essentially? Or is it just commission?
Could be.
It's just commission.
Just commission. Interesting. Okay.
So I don't pay rent. I don't have to pay for my products. I don't have to book my own, we have our own front desk team.
Most places do. You have to do booth rent, right?
If we were doing booth rent, I'd be running my full business myself.
Okay.
But at this point, I get, being here, I get to just focus on like marketing myself, bettering myself for my career, and like getting in touch with people who would want to come see me. And then all of the back end things of like the taxes, the finances, the ordering of the products, and all of that stuff, I don't have to do.
Okay.
Nice.
Because I would mess it up.
It's
well, you don't
not
know
fun
what you
doing
don't know.
taxes.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
What does the ongoing education look like? I've always been curious. Like,
That's something like a lot of people don't know about. And I
Yeah.
tell my clients about this a lot because it's just like they like ask is just like, so why do I go to some salons and they know so far less than like what we do?
Okay.
And licensing varies state by state in the world of cosmetology.
Okay.
Indiana is one of the states that does not require you to take continuing education courses
Okay.
in order to keep your license.
Interesting.
All I have to do is pay $40 every 4 years, and I could be licensed for life and never take an outside course
Indiana
outside
just wants
of
your
beauty
money.
school.
Weird.
Exactly. And so, like Illinois, you have to take like 2 outside education courses a year.
Okay.
But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as a salon requires a minimum of 2 outside education courses a year.
I like that they do that, though. I think that stuff's so important. What is the ongoing education piece, though? Like, so you learned how to cut hair. You mentioned you kind of specialize in curly hair. What are you learning when you do your 2 ongoing education courses a year?
I get to kind of like, well, I do typically ask for advice of like, what are some good classes that you think I could benefit from
Yeah.
my mentors at the salon. But for the most part, I kind of get to pick of what I feel like I would want to learn, whether it's a weak spot and what other I feel like I could improve on,
Yeah.
or it's like curly hair where I want to make sure I'm like know what I'm doing with this specialty that I'm offering.
So what 2 classes did you do last year?
Last year, I just did some smaller hair cutting classes,
Okay.
specifically on like shorter hair, because
Oh.
that's something I don't get a lot of experience in.
Okay.
But we have been getting more and more people, especially since like they grew their hair out during COVID. They kept
Okay.
it long, and now it's a big trend. Tons of people are chopping it off,
Yeah.
doing like bobs or pixie cuts,
Okay.
or like those kind of in between
That's
cuts.
what you need. You need.
Yeah. And so like I wanted to make sure that like no matter who sits in my chair, I can confidently give them a good haircut.
Yeah.
And before that, it was lots of like color education and things like that.
Oh, okay, that makes the color education. I was
Mhm.
gonna say, like, do they have like a shampoo class or things like that? Because
We
I know
do
there's
teach that in the salon
because I
because
know
it's
there's
like,
a ton of options out there.
Well, and then they also have their own products because like the products I use from y'all is amazing. It's
Right.
the best my hair's ever felt in a long time.
From
so
y'all.
From y'all.
we for our curly hair we use Davanese products. They're based in Italy. They're all like it's still a family owned company, which we love. They're all very naturally derived. I love that they put like the name of the farmer they get it from, like the main ingredient from in Italy, on the front of the label of the
That's cool.
package.
Oh, okay.
And 2 years ago, I got the opportunity to go to their hair show in Italy and see like their headquarters, their manufacturing facilities,
I'm sure that was nice.
and do tons of education. It was amazing. So much good food.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
And
That's
does Kiss Kiss Bang Bang also host those education events or?
We do host some in salon because we are a well-known leader in the industry. We do fortunately get a lot of benefits when that comes to education, where
Yeah.
usually we get from our distributors and things like that. They'll bring in classes for us. There have been a couple of them that we've opened up to outside like people to sign up, but for the most part, we have enough people between the salons that we end up filling the class with just our own staff.
Oh, interesting.
That's awesome. And so you mentioned drag earlier. Have you done hair for like other performers and stuff like that, or?
I have not, at least not like their performance hair, but like I've given like my friends a haircut, yeah, or
I
done their
gotcha.
color on occasion, but they mostly live like downtown Indy, and I'm up in Carmel, and they don't really want to come up to Carmel
Right.
very often.
Right.
That makes sense.
No. And I know at your Noblesville house, you're talking about. Well, we were talking about this before. You got a motorcycle,
I did.
which is very new and fun. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's something I've always loved since I was a kid. I grew up like watching like I forget. It was what's it called? The Orange County Chopper Show on Discovery Channel, of like this father and son that were like it was like these like Harley style cruiser bikes, but they would do like all crazy like metal work. These bikes were like truly pieces of art.
Mm.
And I would watch that show, and I just thought like, oh, those bikes were awesome. And like it's something I forgot about for a while. And then, of course, TikTok. I started seeing
People.
videos of bikes.
Algorithm got
And
ya.
then I liked the look of all like the sports bikes and everything. So
Yeah.
I just bought a 2015 Yamaha R3. Got my own little crotch rocket.
There you go.
Yep. And learn that term too.
I know.
Now, did you do? My sister's she drives a Harley. Did you do the class or like to get? Like,
I'm taking it in
license?
May.
Okay, and is it to get a license or is it just for training? on
So
the bike?
it's a pass fail course, and it gives you like, I think you still have to go to the B&B and take a written test, but
That's
it
what
gives
I was
like your
thinking too,
endorsement
yeah.
part.
They have like
okay.
a practical test where you have
Yeah.
to go out and do the thing.
Right. Well, so the course includes the practical test.
Nice.
So
Oh, okay, very cool. The bike that you just got, what's it look like? Since you're so into the design of the bikes and stuff, like what did you end up settling
since
on?
it's my first bike, it's not exactly what I wanted. Because I also was like on a little bit of a budget. I had to talk myself down and not spend a ton on this
Yeah.
bike that I'm definitely going to drop a couple times.
Right.
And so
It's a good learner
it's
bike.
like got like the sides are a little bit of silver. It's mostly blue.
Okay,
But the fairings, like the plastic pieces on the outside of the bike, are easily changeable. So I'm probably going to switch most of those to white eventually after I'm confident
are you gonna do
that
the
I
work
won't.
yourself, or are you gonna? Have
Oh
some...
yeah, that's one of the things I want to do.
Okay, cool.
Like later today, I need to refill the coolant and stuff on it. So
Okay, all right. So you're actually gonna do the actual body work on it.
yeah.
Okay.
Are you daydreaming of the first day you can take it to the shop and you just roll up in your motorcycle, just
Crotch rocket.
helmet out, you're
I've-
ready to fuck some
When we
shit
do
up
like
today.
our meetings and classes and stuff, I'll definitely take it. But on like days to actually like work, it just won't be practical.
Just park it right on the sidewalk.
Right?
Just pull
yeah.
straight up, or just drive straight through the front.
Yeah,
door.
like I'm sure it'll be so easy to get my big duffel bag of tools.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to hair. You talk about social media and TikTok, and I know you're pretty active with social media. So how with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, so it's like kind of like you guys are like your own little mini shops inside of the shop where you do all your own like marketing and all your own branding. So how have you used social media to the common things, posting pictures of hair and stuff like that, but have you found other ways to be like outside of the box and kind of be a little bit more unique to try to get people on social media? Or
That's something that like I'm still actively working on. I've never been somebody who's just like super good at social media in a professional sense.
Uh-huh.
And mainly what I use it is for education for my guests. I
Mhm.
post things that and it's not really even a lot of me making the content myself, but if I find something that's educational, it's just like, oh, this can help somebody.
Absolutely. Why not?
I always
Yeah.
make sure I like repost it to like my stories and things like that.
That's smart.
I always encourage people. It's just like, here's my card. This has my Instagram on it, especially with curly hair. When they're learning how to style their hair, they're going to have lots of questions.
I still do.
Yeah. I throw a lot of information at people during the first visit. And so I always encourage them. It's like, please message me if you have any questions. And like, so it also like gives them a reason to want to follow me. And like I always tell them too, I'm just like, I'm pretty good about posting when I have like last minute availability in there. Because just the other day in the salon, I had a new guest comment, and it was just like, yeah, like the person over the phone that I was booking with was shocked that you had something in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it's usually it's just like, that's when we do our confirmation calls. So if somebody cancels, it's either 2 days or 3 months from now.
Yeah, because I remember I had to cancel because I had something come up, and they were like, "Oh yeah," so it was probably sometime in like November. Like, yeah, well, Astraea's booked out for the rest of the year. You might have to look at February or March. I was like, oh, I'll just look like a caveman by then. But no, that's cool that you stay. I mean, you guys are very high volume. You stay pretty well booked out. So even if you did know social media marketing, is it still pretty busy, pretty consistent for you guys?
Oh,
or-
absolutely. That's one thing that they really encourage is just like market yourself in your chair to the people who are already seeing you. Because as long as you give them a good experience, they're going to want to talk about you to their friends and family. And all it takes is just asking them to take it the step further. It was just like, please send them to me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of mostly how I built my business, and also like building it off of like the system we have set up in the salon is just like we have an open chair policy. So if like there's stylists that are even busier than me, which is crazy to think about.
Sure.
And so if there's a lot of people who remember when I was an apprentice there, and they know if they can't get in with that stylist, they're more than comfortable to come and see me.
Interesting.
So, and client customer relationship is always a big thing, especially with your when you're doing something like doing someone's hair. So when you first started doing it, did you have any like nerves? Like you're like, oh no, I hope I don't like make them upset, or like I don't know how to navigate this situation? Because I mean, I could imagine if someone's paying top dollar for their hair to be done, if they might have their own opinion whether you did it exactly how they asked you to, and they still have their own mindset that it was wrong. How do you navigate that?
Oh, it's a very much just like that all comes down to like as far as like the relationship. In the beginning, I did struggle with like making connections with people. Because I'm a big nerd, like, and I'm in the middle of Carmel, so I was just like, "What am I going to talk to these people about?" It was a lot of, I was like, "The weather's nice."
Yeah, because I always think like I can talk to anybody, but I always feel like when I go get my beard trimmed down and stuff, the person that's doing it, it's always this awkward like convo of, "Oh, what are you out doing today?"
Well, they're in front
I'm
of
doing
you.
this. I'm here.
They're in front of you.
Right.
They're breathing into your mouth while you speak.
Yeah.
So it became, I'm a big foodie as well, and there's lots of good restaurants in Carmel, so that's usually ends up being a lot of the stuff I talk about in the salon. And my coworkers get real mad at me at like 10 in the morning. We're like, I need lunch already because all you've done is talk about food all morning. But as far as this, like, also you mentioned like the people who's just like, you do exactly what they want, and maybe it's not what they pictured. That really comes down to like the consultation in the beginning, and that's something that we do extensive training on at the salon, because it's just like you can ask all the questions in the world. You can say it's just like say somebody who asks for caramel highlights, but like there's all different like that's
as
so
in,
subjective.
As in the city or as in the color?
As in like the color.
Just some highlights on what's going on.
That's
in Carmel,
that's a fair
Indiana.
question. But it's just like it's so subjective because honestly, too, what if they met the city
Right.
and I thought the color?
For anyone that doesn't know Carmel, Indiana, and that's why I asked you about the client relationship, is it's a beautiful place, really nice, really clean. But there is a certain type of people that tend to hang out in those areas, and I could imagine they might be a nightmare to work with in terms of like their appearance.
Well, if you ask for references though, like is that a standard where you're like, could you give me some visuals? Because it is for like when you're working on graphic design, it's like show me a little bit of what you're talking about.
When we first had our consultation, I showed her all the pictures of things that I wanted.
Yeah,
She was like, yeah, we'll do them.
Yeah, I love it when people bring pictures. If it's like, especially if it's a new guest and like that trust isn't there yet, I always ask if they have any pictures.
Yeah.
And if they don't, I was just like, let me pull up some of what I'm picturing.
And
for
you pull up pictures of Bram and just show them
Yeah.
what Bram
Like,
looks
yeah,
like.
And I say, this is what not to do.
Yeah.
I made this work. I can make you work.
Yeah. If you had ever seen someone polish a turd, this is what it is.
So in hair, because things trend, right? So
Very
just
much
like fashion.
so.
So what is that experience like for you? Like, do you find that you have like certain things you need to keep up on? Have you walked into situations where it's trendy and you don't know how to maybe
Like the year of the mullet.
like make that work? Like, I just think that's interesting.
I hate cutting a mullet. Because it's just not
Well,
the
I know what
style
I'm
of
getting next
Yeah,
time.
you
it's
do.
just not the style of hair that like I typically do.
Right.
So it's just like I like to say this is like I like to do pretty hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the like the Instagram hair that you see, it's the kind of hair that I like doing.
Well, it's also your brand.
Yes.
So if you're known as the mullet haircut person in Carmel, they're gonna be like, "The hell?"
Right. That's such a big fear of mine sometimes. Is just like it's luckily never happened, but like somebody comes in with something that's just like the immediate thing I think of is like the chunky 90s highlights. And like it's just like, well, I can't just not give it to them. But how do I politely say it's just like don't tell people I did this.
Do you think the frosted tips come back that guys were getting in the 90s? Remember that?
I
They
had
would
them
do,
in middle
like,
school.
Did you really?
I did. I'll have to talk to my mom. She's got some archived deep pictures. Yeah,
Nice.
it wasn't a good look for me.
Did you have an Affliction T-shirt also?
Yeah.
I find those things go hand
I was
in
drinking
hand.
Mountain Dew at like 5 years
So
old.
what when it comes to the trends though, do you find that you have any struggles with some of the trends that
Some
are
of
coming
them,
back around? or-
like one specifically was like curtain bangs.
Okay.
And it wasn't necessarily like that was a huge trend for the longest time. And it wasn't necessarily that like I didn't know how to cut curtain bangs, but I didn't know at first how to talk to people that really wanted them when their hair type or face shape could not support it.
Gotcha.
And so that's something like I've had to learn. And I'd be like, especially with like bangs too, they were a big trend like about a year ago. And it was just like pretty much if anybody sat in my chair and like asked for bangs, like my first question is what happened? What's his name?
Yeah.
Who hurt you?
Yes. And then it proceeds to a conversation of what it sounds like me trying to talk them out of bangs. But I just want to make sure it's just like you realize if you
It's
don't
not
like these,
impulsive.
it's literally going to take years to grow these
That's
back out.
wild. Is it really? Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
Hair on average grows a half an inch a month.
Okay.
So you think of somebody who has like hair below their shoulders, that's like 10 inches.
Like I shaved this morning, and this thing is already back.
But he was
Well, yeah,
sitting
you
there
got to
going-
make up for the other half.
Yeah, the top half. Like,
For anyone that doesn't know, Ben is bald.
Yeah, my beard does though. It grows super fast.
Mine does too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I use the electric razor, and granted, if I actually straight razor, it'd probably be like clean, but the same day it comes back.
Yeah,
through.
it's wild.
I'm a chia pet.
Don't water me.
Something I wanted to bring up to you was, and I think this is like it transcends like all business and all things in life. The nice thing about like being a hairstylist is you get to see people that are happy with how they look and how they feel, and I
Mhm.
think. I mean, obviously, the important thing is you want to make sure that they look good and they feel good about the job that was done. But I feel like getting a haircut or getting a beard trim or other, it makes you feel good on the inside, even though like you're focusing on the outside. But I think though, like with business and anything in life, like if you are happy with yourself and you love yourself, it's easier to love and respect others. So, do you feel like being a hairstylist, you get to kind of like live those tiny moments with your clients as they have those like aha moments or like, oh my God, I look so good. Like, does it feel good to like know that they're
It's
feeling
the
good?
best feeling in the world.
Mm.
Like I just had like one experience recently where it's just like somebody came in, didn't know how to like tame their curls or really style them at all. And like at first before we like shampooed and styled her, she was like, "Can we go a little shorter?" And I was like, "Let's just wait." And she comes back to the chair. We have her all dry and style, and she's like, "I'm glad we didn't go shorter." But she was just like, "I've never seen my hair like this," and just like the biggest grin across her face. And it's just such a rewarding feeling to know that you can make somebody that happy.
What? And I just thought about this too. Like, so when you get clients that are getting ready for a wedding, that's a big day, especially a
Yes.
bride, or even the groom. But like, is there the level of stress that I would have? But I'm granted, I don't cut hair.
Hmm.
I mean, that's a big responsibility.
It's really stressful.
Does it still stress you out, or do you kind
Yeah.
of like, I got this?
Because I would be a bridezilla through and through.
Yeah.
So wait, we need to do a wedding tier list. You've got the hairstylist, the makeup artist, the photographer, the videographer. Who, in terms of like, could not saying that like they would mess it up, but if something went wrong, who was getting their head chopped off first? out of those four?
Videographer.
Videographer.
I think photographer.
Or like photographer or videographer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is like, that's something that lasts.
Right.
Yeah. Or
So
doesn't.
far past
but
the
if their
wedding.
Or
hair's
doesn't.
not done right, and then the video's really good, but they hate their hair.
One of the craziest experiences I ever had working in IT, I used to work for a company, very large company, who we will not name, but the individual was a photographer, and he had not backed up all the photos from the wedding. And his computer, he spilled coffee on it, and it fried everything. Didn't have like an iCloud backup or a Dropbox, nothing. And
And
I
you
think
can visit his gravesite.
yeah. And I remember this guy coming in and be like, "Oh my God, please save this." And I'm like, "It's liquid damage, man." Like,
Right.
like your best bet is, and there are companies out there that do work on things.
Yeah, they
like
just
that,
charge you like
a
$1,000.
ton of money. But I mean, at that point, you don't want to not have those photos. So,
No.
I mean, I don't know what he did, but that was crazy. I was just like, ooh, too much pressure.
So you have or haven't done wedding hair?
I do not do wedding hair.
Smart.
But have you though? Have you done it?
I've assisted when I was an apprentice for wedding hair, which kind of just like I was just pretty much doing the curls when the stylist would follow behind me and
Yeah.
then do the updo.
So that was enough for you to know that wasn't your vibe.
Yeah. And then also it's just like when I first started, I wanted to be good at updos so
Yeah.
bad. I'm not good at updos. I want to so bad. You'll end up with like half a box of bobby pins in your hair. And like, so I usually will do like, I've had multiple guests where I plan from their wedding for me to do their color and everything like that. But we have a bridal team at the salon
I was
that
gonna
handles
yeah.
all of that.
Okay.
And like my cousin just got engaged over the holidays, and his fiance reached out to me asking if I would do the hair for the
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Absolutely not.
I was just like, I love
tough
that you
one.
want, like, because she brought it to the point, it was just like, we really want to support our friends and family during
Yeah,
this.
that's
And I was
great,
just like,
yeah.
I love that so much. And I told her, it's just like,
but still no.
but like, I don't think I'm the best fit for what you're looking for.
yeah.
Especially since I don't do the makeup side of it either.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a big piece of it.
Right. That is what actually got me into the industry. but it's something I discovered. That's something I like to do for
You
more
started
from.
off as a makeup artist first.
That's what I thought I wanted to do, and that's why I started going to beauty school.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I was doing drag before.
Mhm.
Okay.
I started doing hair, and I loved the makeup aspect of that. And so I went to beauty school in order to get my license, in order to do more makeup. And that's when I kind of discovered that turning a hobby into a job is not always the best
Yeah.
Yeah.
idea. And it's
Can be
just something
tough.
I discovered I like doing more for myself and the enjoyment for it. But it's just not something I enjoy doing professionally. But then we got into like the color theory of hair color. I was always been an artist growing up. And so that's what really grabbed me.
Okay, interesting. The next piece that I've always been curious about, because you have your own tools, you have your own
Mhm.
shears, all those things.
Mhm.
Not only just the upkeep, but I'd love to learn more about like what is that investment and what is, how often are you having to replace things
Yes.
or any of that? Because I think that obviously that's such a huge piece to what you do. That's got to be a lot of maintenance.
is.
And okay, so give us a little bit of that because I don't know.
The
but
main thing I think about with maintenance and things like that is shears. You can get shears for very cheap, but you will be buying cheap shears very
Sure,
often.
Right.
sure.
You do have to get them sharpened. Depends on how often you use them. Usually I do that once or twice a year.
Is there a shear sharpening center or something like?
There's lots of different
Yeah,
like
his name's
there's
Bobby. He's down in the corner. He takes out his big Bowie knife and talks to you about the war.
He's wearing a yellow poncho. You can't miss him.
He's like, grab
It's
a beer and sit
actually
down.
can be difficult to find somebody you trust to sharpen your shears
Sure.
because it's like you can really mess them up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the companies that you get them from offer sharpening services, but I've seen like since they're so mass produced at that point, and they're such big companies, they don't really care if they mess up your shears on the little end.
Because there's
'Cause-
companies that do it for chefs. They'll come in, like
Mhm.
you can pay
Sharpen
them to
your
come in,
knives.
and they'll come in and sharpen all the knives for the chefs. And yeah, you pay like a monthly retainer or something like that. Is it probably similar companies? Or?
There are similar companies like
Okay.
that. At the salon, we have just this guy that runs his business out of the back of his van with his wife.
Nope.
Bobby!
Bobby!
And so he comes by and he just like sharpens them in the parking lot, and he's a
Super
very good
creepy.
deal. He does a great job.
That's awesome.
I
yeah.
don't know what we're gonna do when he retires, but that's kind of the what we do right now. We just reach out to him on Instagram whenever we need him.
That's awesome.
But like, it is hard to trust somebody with these shears because it's just like my most recent pair I got. It was $1,250.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one thing. It's just like people don't realize this, like how much those tools can cost.
Is it okay to ask like what do you think like your bag or your set of tools,
Oh,
like what are you
gosh.
in? Are you like, is it 5,000? I mean, is it
It's probably that's honest. That specific pair of shears is definitely my most expensive tool I have.
sure? Okay.
But the shears alone that I have are probably worth about $3,000, and on top of that, I'd say between everything, we could go up to like $3,500,
So-
or probably closer to $4,000.
Okay.
And any hairstylist, that's usually the norm. Is you have your own stuff, right? You have to get your own tools.
Now, at my salon, they do provide a lot for us. Like all the brushes in the drawers, they do stay in those stations. And so we have a full set of round brushes,
Okay.
like vent brushes, paddle brushes, all those things are provided for us. But I do have some like brushes that I personally prefer.
Uh-huh.
And so I do buy those myself.
What about coloring? Do they offer that through the company, or is that something you have
Yeah,
to-
because we are like commissioned, they provide all the color, all the
Okay.
products,
Okay.
all of that for us.
Okay. Interesting.
Nice. Do you ever? So you've been how long with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
5 years now.
5 years. Do you ever have ambitions of having your own shop, or at least, or I mean, in the current moment, do you see like a certain trajectory with it, or?
Not currently, because this is like I don't feel like I could confidently take care of the back end things. One thing that they're very open about at KKBB is that they're open for people buying into the business
Cool.
and owning shares of the salon, or even opening a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang location for themselves. So that might be in my future. I just don't really know yet. I know my next trajectory as far as my career goes is getting into professional education with going through our color line, which is Wella, and becoming a like contractor for them and teaching
cool.
like regional education in like Indiana and the Midwest.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I teach kids my video stuff, and then Ben loves the education piece too, and I feel like that really helps you stay on top of your craft, and it really helps you like rethink how to do things. Because I mean, before I started teaching kids, I would just do video the same exact way every single time, but now it's like every situation is different. But
It opens up that communication piece, though, that's so important no matter what your line of work is. Like, I think ongoing education allows you to have this sense of confidence, or at least curiosity, that you can talk to anybody, or at least, learn from other people, and being that active listener. It's just, I don't know, to me, it's always just such an important piece of anything that we do.
Absolutely.
One of the big things I've gotten into is reading a lot on like psychology, which I love because it works in business and your personal life.
Yes.
that person's not mad at me; they're mad at themselves.
That sucks. All right, we're gonna take a short break, and then we'll be right back.
This episode's Trailblazer shout out goes to Noble Coffee. Noble Coffee is a full-service coffee and tea shop located in the downtown square of Noblesville, Indiana. They roast and blend all of their own sourced coffee beans fresh every day and offer online ordering for pickup. They also have a large interior and exterior seating area if you're wanting to get some work done or hang out with some friends. I personally love Noble Coffee and try to grab a drink anytime I'm passing through town. If you'd like to learn more about this great company, check them out at Noble Coffee and Tea on Facebook. And we are back with Stay Risky, and we chopped off. We stopped off.
Yeah, you did.
I'm just thinking about all the hair puns. For anyone that didn't know, Ben's bald.
That's why?
So, but we ended off on that education piece. So, so you said you'd be a contractor for them. So would you be traveling to different, like, because I know that, like, they'll do makeup classes like in stores and stuff like that. But the hair, would you be going to like other salons, or would you be going to like stores that sell the product? How would that work?
I would be going to like other salons on like their days off and things like that, and teaching them like new techniques and new like maybe about like new colors that are coming out, but like, and answering like any questions that they might have.
Awesome.
You mentioned we send out a questionnaire to all of our guests, and they do a very good job of giving us some insights before we do the interviews. And I really liked at the end of the questionnaire kind of what you talked about in regards to your team at the salon. And then I love that you brought out things like it's a safe space, your ongoing education, things like that. I'd love for you to touch on that a little bit, like maybe even give us a story of where you really felt like they had your back, or they really came through for you, and that's why you work there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, we are a very tight-knit team. And we always say, we like, one of the things we say, for better or for worse, is this, like, we're either gonna push you up or push you out. We recognize that, like, it's a very it's a very tough environment. We hold people very accountable.
Absolutely.
And not a lot of people, especially like these young kids coming out of beauty school, they're just out of high school, went to beauty school for a year. They don't
really
ready for that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, we're gonna push you to grow. And sometimes people like just feel like that push is too much.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I felt that way at sometimes, for sure, but I'm so glad I stuck through it. As far as like as time where it's just like they really had my back was probably about like what was it now, about a little over a year ago.
Okay.
2 years ago I started publicly transitioning.
Okay.
And then 6 months after that I changed my name and changed my legal name in the middle of my career. So I have a foundation of clients where they knew me by an old name, and they are now like, I'm now presenting them as just like, this is changing.
Yeah.
And my team went out of their way to make sure that I was super comfortable, that everything was immediately changed in all of the systems on the website. Everything was done like in a very prompt manner, and they had my back and like let me know if anybody had a problem with that I didn't need to worry about that.
And that's
awesome.
That's such a huge piece too, because going through the transition that you went through already probably has some mental task to it. There's some other things that
Mm-hmm.
physically as well. So to have a team that is helping you plan ahead for everything that you want in the way that you want it, I mean, that's got to feel really good. That's a one thing you don't have to worry about, is being like, hey, I need this done. And they're like, what? Why are we doing this? Like,
Yes.
I'm assuming that was so helpful in that situation where it could have been worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is like not having that like that fear of, is this just like, well, what if I do have that one person that's going to be like,
Up in arms about it.
yes, or
Push 'em out.
make a big scene. Exactly.
Yep.
I want that on a
but
shirt
like
now.
I'm so like I was just so confident that like, well, one was just like it's the relationship I had with my guests at that point. I feel like I did not have anybody that would be like that.
Good.
But I was just so confident in like how safe of a space it is that like if that ever did happen, I'm very certain that they would no longer be welcome in the place.
Those
of
sharpened shears would be coming out.
Oh yeah.
But no, that's awesome. No, and I've gotten to know you for, I've been getting my hair done with you for over a year now.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that you've had overwhelming support, because just any major life decision, if you're not alone, it feels way better just to like go through it and you're like, this is what I'm going to do. And when people accept you, I'm sure it feels good. So.
Absolutely.
But is there any other closing statements, anything coming up this year? This episode will come out, we're recording here in February. It'll come out a little bit later in the year. Any classes you're teaching that people can attend, or anything going on with either KKBB or anything you're doing this year?
Currently not teaching any outside courses. I'm mainly just working with our apprentices in the salon currently. There's not really anything set in stone that I can mention at the moment.
Okay.
So those apprentices, how does that, if someone's an aspiring hairstylist and they want to work with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, what does that process look like?
So we always start that off with an interview and set up expectations. And then from there, we go to a job shadow. Typically that starts at our Fisher's location because it is a little bit larger of a space. And then if you feel like you'd like to continue with that, we'll have you job shadow at our Carmel location. We get to meet everybody, talk, see what the day runs like, and see like that to make sure it's like you are a good fit for us and we are a good fit for you.
It's always the best way to do it. I love when companies do the shadow day. It's like, hey, we're interested, but why don't you come in and make sure. It's such a good way to make sure you're not wasting your time too.
Absolutely.
So.
Whenever we have someone that wants to work with us, we just weird them out.
Yeah, we tell them not to as hard as possible.
that is though. I mean,
and if they still want to.
Yeah, and you're like, all
that's
right,
his favorite thing is as soon as we do a phone call with someone, he says, you should not do this and this is why.
Yeah.
And then, do you still want to do this? And they say yes. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Now
we
we're
warned
diving
you.
in.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for spending some time with us today and taking a little break from your super busy schedule.
I wanted to ask you, is it okay to promote your socials, like for those listening that may be interested in
Absolutely.
because you're putting stuff up that's educational. Is that okay to ask?
Absolutely.
Okay. What are they?
My main one is Instagram.
Okay.
It's Astraea _KKBB.
Okay.
And so it's pretty easy to find.
We'll have that tagged in the liner notes since
Thank
you're
you.
okay with that. And also when this episode does air, which we'll communicate with you, if there are things at that time that you can announce or talk about, we can put that
we can
into
pair
the
it up.
liner notes and verbiage to help
be
promote
awesome.
that. So yeah. So just keep us posted.
Will do.
Cool.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Engine Room Recording Company, located in Broad Ripple Village just north of downtown Indianapolis, specializes in making your projects go. Podcasters, bands, audiobookers, rappers, singers, songwriters, and everyone in between, the Engine Room Recording Company has the experience, the engineers, the equipment, and the environment to fuel your projects. For more information on their services, creatives they've worked beside, and gear they use, visit them today at engineroomrecordingcompany.com and be sure to follow them on Instagram at Engine Room Recording Co.